Well, all right. Glad you can join me. So I did a video earlier which was a how-to about the forearm block and stuff. So here we are now, and we're going to go work through a whole bunch of drills for that. The general theme here is we're going to do a block, we're going to do a punch, and then we're going to do a kick. That's what today's training is going to involve. That's what the drills are going to involve. I showed you the forearm block, all right? Sometimes some of them are actually overhead blocks and overhead forearm blocks, but I don't want to overcomplicate it, and it doesn't need to be that specified in the sense that they're all versions of a forearm block. They're all certain angles and heights of a forearm block, right? So now the first thing that we're going to do before we start to get to the specific drills and the combinations is I want you to do some forearm blocks and stuff. So this is like your advanced warm-up or whatever, but specifically with the move. So do some forearm blocks. Remember when you're doing the forearm blocks that you could have some kind of thrust, some kind of force behind it, some kind of snapping to it, or you could actually rotate the fists as well. Then I want you to do some punching out of the forearm block. So you're doing sort of like a combo of 1-2. I want you to do some forearm blocks, then I want you to do a punch. A forearm block and a punch, a block and a punch, a block and a punch. All right, so let's get to the drill straight away. And here you can see in slow mode, you're going to be in a left sparring stance, and you're going to do a, simultaneously, you're going to do a left outer forearm block and the right cross, okay? Then after that, you're going to do a left jab, then you're going to do a right cross, and you can see how your body's shifting from one to the other perfectly. Then you're going to do a left hook. These are all to the face. Okay, and after the left hook, you're going to do a left instant front kick. So that's the kick that's in front of you, and then you're going to land into a sparring stance. Land back into your sparring stance, the same left sparring stance that you have. So here I have a bunch of still shots. You're going to start with your left sparring stance, and remember, so you can clearly see in these still shots, it's not like a true 45 degrees off from your facing forward. Okay, so it's your front foot, it's a slight rotation inward, and the back foot probably a little bit more pronounced, a little bit more rotated off of the center line and stuff. Ultimately, you place your feet where you feel most comfortable and where you have the most mobility and balance, okay? Then you're going to do the left outer forearm block and the right cross, simultaneous. You also see in parentheses, I'm giving you the abbreviation, so you get used to the abbreviation. So I don't have to always write out the full text of these moves and stuff like that. Your forearm block could be on the side, can be a little bit overhead, some combination, whatever. Remember, the point is, I want you to do blocks, some punching, and some kicks. That's the drills today. All right, you got that? Then I want you to follow up with your left jab, all to the head. Then I want you to follow with the right cross. All right, whichever is not the punching hand, keep that in a good guard position. Then come back again with the left hook. After the left hook, I want you to do a left instant front kick. So that's your lead, the foot that's in front of you. Kick with that, and then bring that back down, back to your left sparring stance, and you're done. And then, shift out of, what we'll do is we'll shift out of that stance and we'll go back to, we'll alternate. So here we go. Let's see it again in a little bit regular time, a little bit faster motion and stuff, right? And then practice both sides, man. Of course, practice both sides. So that would be in your right sparring stance, right forearm block, left cross together, okay? After that, okay, come back with the right jab, okay? Then come back with the left cross, and then the right hook. And after the right hook, you're throwing the right instant front kick and landing down, and you're good to go, right? All right, so we're gonna do a whole bunch of those, and we're gonna probably let's vary it a little bit to help us if you don't want to just come down in the stance. Probably what's ideal is for convenience and also coolness and whatnot is after you throw the instant front kick, then throw the rear front kick from the back leg, and then step down after that rear, and you'll be in the new stance, right? And so you see me doing that here. And this will have us, this way we can just naturally keep alternating both sides. Cool? When you're throwing your front kick, make sure to lift that knee up high before thrusting out the kick. That's always going to give you some good techniques and stuff when you do that. When you're throwing the front kick, you could have, your hands can shoot out a little bit if you need to get some momentum or leverage and stuff. But ultimately, I want you to have some form of functional hand position so that you're guarded and you're not just completely recklessly dedicated to some kind of crazy kicking. All right, one more time. So when you're throwing the front kick, or when you're throwing any of your kicks, you can feel your hand. You can shoot your hand out if you need to get a little bit of balance or momentum, or to give you a little bit more of an oomph. But at the same time, or at least with one of them, and ultimately, I want you to practice and keep in mind your hands being in some kind of good position to guard, so that you're not entirely vulnerable, or so that you don't just completely throw any other moments out the window and just say, all I'm doing is a kick and nothing else, and it doesn't really matter where my hands are. That's not necessarily effective and realistic or a wise thing. Okay, so let's do some more stuff. So here we go. Remember, the point is we're going to do a block, we're going to do some punch, and then we're going to do some kick drills. That's the whole point. The block emphasis is for a forearm block. The punching could be whatever, and the kicks are whatever as well. But here we're focusing on the front kick and to start us out and stuff like that. In the beginning, as you get your flow, you can do a block and then a punch and then a kick, okay? But ultimately, you're trying to also move for or train to have the ability to block and punch at the same time. So that's what you're seeing here, okay? So you're seeing the left cross and the right forearm block, right? Here, I'm giving you an idea of where you can really chamber them and stuff like that. It's up to you. You feel that as well. You could bring back your hand a lot, and then shoot. You can bring back the hand that's going to do the block a lot, and then shoot it back out so that you can have a lot of driving force or whatnot. Or you could keep it relatively in place and then just shoot it out, or use some rotations and fist rotations to give you a little bit more torque. That's up to you to play it. Some people like to cross them. So you chamber your hand across, and then you uncross them as you throw them out, and that also gives you an additional momentum and force. But the point is, I mean, you can go slow. You don't need to feel that massive snap and effectiveness right away. You're working toward it. You're learning the motions and stuff like that. So ultimately, or one of the important things when you're starting out with these drills is I want you to be able to also have a good visualization of what's happening. So that means when you're doing the block, I want you to imagine what it's actually blocking and stuff. I don't want it to just be a hand block flailing out somewhere for the sake of flailing out, and you assuming, oh, I'm sure it will have blocked something. So in that sense, you may go a little bit slow, and visualize where that punch is coming from and how you tilting to the side a little bit and then putting out that forearm block is meeting that. So you're meeting that punch that's coming. You're blocking that other punch somewhere in the arm, their arm, your opponent's arm part. You're not blocking the punch at the fist part. You can go as close up to the fist as the wrist if you want, but you're getting on shaky ground at that point. But there are blocks on to the wrist area of a punch and stuff like that. But mostly you're blocking probably the punching arm that's coming toward you. You're blocking the forearm of that. You could completely jam in and even go high and block even a lot higher by the biceps and stuff like that. But generally you get the idea. Visualize the punch that's coming to you, whether it's looping or whether it's a straight. If it's a straight punch, you're going to have a hard time. You might have a hard time just doing a simple block from the position that you're in, so you may need to dip a little or something. So imagine if a punch is coming toward you, you would have a natural reflex, sort of like a flinch. That flinch is going to tell you where you should be, dipping toward, leaning a little bit to give yourself that good angle leverage to throw the block as well, which you'll see me doing heaps of times here and stuff. All right, so what we're doing is we're adding just a little bit of that weave. Okay, that's critical. So we're doing a little bit of the weaving and avoiding the punch to our drill. So you can definitely add them in as well. Okay, so yeah, so you notice that basically somewhere in the middle, or halfway through throwing the combos of the drill or whatever, we're doing a little bit of extra evasive maneuver, a little bit of extra avoiding a punch, weaving, dipping, and stuff. All right, so here what you see is we're practicing our levels. So we're practicing our angles and positions, but an angle doesn't necessarily mean off to the side or something like that. It also can be angles of your height that we're playing with. So what we're doing is, once we get low on one of our heights, as we can rise up with our next set of moves. So as we're rising up, we're doing a couple of moves, and that gives us a certain angle and force also rising up.